again. Ask Carol anything, don't hold back. Real conversations on the right track. Real impact, no fluff, just fact. Ask Carol. Good evening, everyone. Did y'all like my little rap? Good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Ask Carol talk show. Ask Carol, what are you going to ask me? I don't know. We will find out. Ask Carol talk show. So I'm your host with most, Carol Samuels. Ask Carol. So thank you so much, so much for joining us on the Ask Carol talk show. My name is Carol Samuels. I am Carol Samuels. I'm married to a wonderful husband who is very supportive of me. I have been working in the social service field for over 2 decades. Are we going to do something about child labor? No, I'm older than that. So I've been working in the social service field for over 2 decades. I'm really passionate about what I do. I am a big advocate for individuals with disabilities. And the Ask Carol talk show came about because I want to use my voice. I want to use this platform to bring awareness to some of the challenges we face in our everyday lives. So I thought, using my voice and my platform will bring awareness. A lot of people are suffering in silence, and we want to break that barrier. So the Ask Carol platform, you are safe. You hear me? You're at a safe place. When you come on the Ask Carol platform, you are in a safe place. So, again, welcome everyone. Today, we're going to talk about digitally divide, bridging the generational gap. What is that? We're going to find out from our amazing speakers. We have three amazing speakers with us. And again, the topic is digitally divide. And we're going to have a narrative about what exactly is digitally divide and communicating effective communication between our different generations. Yeah, so we are going to bring our first speaker on without further ado. We have our first speaker. Her name is Miss Stephanie Haynes. Stephanie is a 22-year-old college graduate, and she's also an entrepreneur. And she is going to dive in and talk about bridging the gap with the different generations. And she's going to talk a little bit about herself, her business. She's going to discuss how she thrived in today's day when AI is literally taking over our lives. We have the AI talking for us, walking for us. Soon AI will be eating for us, yeah? So without further ado, let's welcome Stephanie Haynes to the Ask Carol Talk Show. Stephanie, thank you for joining us.
Hiya, thank you for having me. So, as you guys was told, my name is Stephanie. I'm 22 from London. I've recently graduated from uni and I was studying business economics from the University of Leicester. I've opened a Caribbean takeaway from home and I work in the NHS as a corporate affairs assistant. So going into the topic of digital divide for me personally is the divide in ages because of technology that we have. We have things like ChatGPT, Google, all these different aspects of the internet and technology that are making a bigger gap from the young generation to the older generation. And as time goes on and technology is developed, as time goes on and technology is developed, it just gets worse and worse and harder. But as someone that has grown up with technology, I would say that for me, digital divide is something that can be changed and worked on just with a little bit of patience from the younger generation for older people, taking time to explain things, because sometimes it literally just takes a few extra words just to go through things to make it more understandable for older people. So for my business, I do use technology quite a lot, be in social media to advertise things through Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all these different kind of things. But that's something you don't technically see the older generation using. So being some from the young generation with a business, trying to target your target audience, you have to be able to adapt. So that might be through business cards or using a platform that our old generation is more likely to use. So for example, my age group, Facebook isn't something that we necessarily use, but people of their 40s, 50s, that's something that is targeted towards them. So it's all about just being able to adapt to your target market, or adapt to be able to explain different things to different people in a way that makes different sense for them.
Awesome, Stephanie. And Stephanie, very well said. But do you find that you have any challenges with communicating to someone who is in their, let's say, 60s and 70s and beyond? Do you find that in the now, do you find that there's any barrier in communicating with someone in that era?
I would say that there is a lot of barriers with communicating as someone that is in their 20s, their early 20s at that, with someone that's older in their 60s, 70s, only because people tend to be stuck in the ways of what they've grown up with. And obviously, being 70, you've gone through a lot of things, and you're quite stuck in your ways, whereas I've come in with different experiences, different access to technology, the internet and everything. But it's just being able to communicate and describe and explain things to somebody that makes sense to them. So it's like related it back to them. So that might be, they might be interested in reading books, for example. So you might have to just communicate it with a way of, oh, in this book you can use this, or just adapting your explaining style to make more sense for that person.
Good. Do you get frustrated in communicating with someone that's two generations older than you and is not easily relatable to your generation?
I would say that I've found myself getting frustrated in previous like situations, but I have caught onto it sometimes. I try not to, and I try to be patient, but obviously we're all humans, so it's just natural. But I think when you have to keep explaining yourself and repeating yourself, especially when you're quite busy, I would say that I do get kind of frustrated sometimes.
Well, I know you're not frustrated talking to me, and I am as old as dirt. Stephanie, that's amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to get back to you later on in the show. We have some burning questions for our 22-year-old. Very well. So let's move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Janielle Richards. Janielle is a U.S. vet. Thank you for your service, Janielle. She's also a mom and a wife, and she is going to tap in some of the challenges that she faces in her everyday life and communicating with the different generations and fostering that communication. So, Janielle, welcome to the Ask Carol Talk Show.
Hello, everyone. My name is Janielle, and I am thrilled to be here today to join into this topic of digital divide. Before I give you a little background information about myself, I first want to thank Carol for having me on this platform to share my experience and give an insight on the topic and how it affects all of us in our everyday lives. So, as I go into it, I just want to say that again, yes, I am a U.S. Army vet. I did 8 years in the Army, and I currently work in the federal contractor industry. Um, I hold a master's degree in organizational management, and it's fair to say that I've worked with pretty much all generation that are currently in our workforce in a digital world. So, I have a vast majority of experience working with in the digital world. I'm a millennial, and that's the generation that grew up or were born between 1981 and 96. So I was born in the generation of the internet. When the internet took a rise, there was a rise in the internet. I was born in that generation. So um, everything in my world is digital. How I
Of course it is.
how I connect. I mean, look at us right now. We're talking on Zoom. How I connect with the different generations. At times, it can be a challenge, I would say. But again, I think I have an advantage because being ex-military and working in the federal contractor industry, usually when devices or any form of technological digital technologies coming out, we're usually the first to see it or we build it. So whatever the case is, I'm involved in it somewhat. So I would say that digitally, depending on the industry, it may take more people more time to understand it, and then some they're like born into it.
Very well, very well. And Ginny, you are a US vet, so you had the opportunity to do overseas tours, and I'm pretty sure you had the opportunity to meet hundreds of people.
Yes.
Do you find that it was challenging, being tech savvy? Do you find that you had any challenges, or were there any barriers that got you so frustrated you wish if Wi-Fi never existed?
Absolutely. So, in every type of communication, whether digitally, orally, whatever written, it's always going to be a challenge. So, the best thing I say to bridge that gap is to make it simple. Simplicity is the easiest way where we can all arrive at a meeting point where we can communicate effectively.
You need
Um,
that happy
and
medium, yeah?
yes, and even in our workforce today, the simplest way to communicate is via the email. Most people prefer to use email. Myself and those in a younger generation may prefer to use like Slack or Teams or even Zoom, like we're talking on right now. I find that the older,
I'm going to stop you for 1 second. We're talking about digital divide, but what
right?
exactly is Slack? I never heard of that. What is Slack?
So Slack is like the professional form of like WhatsApp. So it's a
Oh,
texting app where you use to text. So a lot of older people they don't like texting because it takes them maybe 10 minutes where it could take myself or someone younger 10 seconds. And a lot of people also prefer to like communicate more verbally. So we have to bridge that gap. Email, like I said before, is the simplest way to do that. But to get everyone even closer as we evolve in our digital world, I think we have to find that happy medium and find what works for them, help those who are younger to help us to understand, and help those who are younger to help them to understand where we're at today in our digital world.
very well. And what advice would you give for someone who, let's say, is retired and, we're living in an economy where it's unpredictable and someone who wants to return to the workforce? What advice would you give that person to navigate some of the digital challenges?
So, at the initial onset, it's going to seem intimidating, of course. Just getting a new job or going back into the workforce in itself is challenging. But in every job, no matter how qualified or unqualified you are, there's always on the job training. So don't be shy
Absolutely.
about it. If you can like learn about the technology beforehand, that's great. But go in and get whatever you need to get done. There's always on the job training. Myself and those that are younger, I know we can get frustrated at times, but we have no problem teaching those that are older as long as you get it the maybe the initial 3 times, and we'll help you to bridge that gap to get on the same page with us. At the end of the day, we're trying to have effective communication across the board. So, however we can help you to get there, we're willing to. So, go for it.
Very well, very well. Before we bring on our next speaker, Michael, I'm going to toss this question over to Stephanie. And before Stephanie comes on again, I recently just found out. I recently just found out what WYU means. What you doing? Like, why couldn't we just say, what are you doing? Why do we abbreviate everything? So let me ask Stephanie, before we bring Michael on, let me ask Stephanie, is that your form of communication? The emojis, you can literally have a whole paragraph in emoji and someone understand you? Is that the now?
I would say abbreviations really are now. I abbreviate even down to schools. So, for example, I went to Langley Girls Secondary. People go LGP, Langley Park School for Girls. Literally everything's abbreviated, but sometimes the like people that are younger than me, they've got even newer abbreviations. I even get lost with myself. But some people, my dad uses abbreviations as well. So I would say it's not just our generations that's using it. Older generations use it as well.
Oh, well, I am a part of the old generation and I still write in full sentence. Like I don't get, but so how would you incorporate me in your world? What encouragement would you give to me to use emoji that gets my message across? What advice would you give me, Stephanie?
Use emojis or abbreviations? Which one?
Both actually.
With abbreviations, I would say just stick to typing in full. I've literally been very strict with myself recently to only type in full sentences, no more abbreviations, because you can't communicate properly like that. In the real world, that's not going to get you anywhere. But with
Good
emojis,
answer.
I think emojis are just to make it. For me, emojis are just to make my messages more look better on them. So what add into it, you make it to be.
Thank you, Stephanie. You faded out a little bit, but we got your message. Thank you so much. And we're going to dive in deeper as we go into the Ask Carol talk show. Please put your question in the chat for our speakers, and we're going to get to your questions later on. But let's introduce our third speaker, Mr. Michael Leslie. Mr. Leslie, welcome to the Ask Carol talk show. How are you keeping up with the Stephanie and the Janielle? Are you losing your mind? How are you keeping up? Welcome to the Ask Carol talk show.
Thank you very much, Carol. Hello, everyone. Carol, thanks for inviting me to your show. First of all, let me congratulate you on this bold step that you've taken to start this podcast.
Thank
I know,
you.
I know it will be a success, and I'm looking forward to celebrating the different milestones with you. Digitally divided, where technology is concerned, I got lucky, you know.
Oh, you
Um,
really got lucky.
I really got lucky because I'm in a profession that really pushes me somewhat towards the use of technology. I'm a finance guy. I have a master's degree in business administration. You know, my first experience with technology was way back in 1980, when I was introduced to the computer. Back then, the computer that we used was used with a floppy disk to boot the computer. Today, we're seeing where there are many different types of input and output systems and microprocessors. The Internet of Things has basically taken over our lives. I think Janielle spoke to that, and how the Internet of Things has really been integrated into our daily lives. So technology has evolved, and it has evolved so fast that it has created gaps, not just in terms of access, but also in terms of comfort, trust, understanding. It's not just about knowing or owning a device. It's about feeling empowered to use the device, and hence that speaks to some level of confidence, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the digital divide, as you have coined it, it's not just about age. It's really about the exposure, your education, your confidence. Many older adults, you know, didn't grow up with a smartphone, they didn't grow up with social media, they didn't grow up with online banking, and the day-to-day things that attend to our lives. So these things make you feel overwhelmed from time to time. I have seen it, not just in my own circle, but in my extended circle, you know. But why does it matter? It does matter because the technology affects how we communicate, it affects our healthcare, our finances, it affects our emotional connections,
Yes.
how we interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's so many areas of our lives that is affected, and closing the gap, is very, very important, in this digital world, in this world of Internet of Things. You know, education is important to bridging the gap. I remember when I was a young man growing up, a young boy growing up, there was a program in Jamaica called Jamal, where Jamal taught adult adults about lifelong learning skills. It targeted adults who were not literate, and it taught them lifelong learning skills. Today, the technology has evolved so much and has become so personalized now, where we're not interacting in a social space as we used to prior to the explosion of in technology. And so people are being lost in the digital world. Adults, older adults like myself, and those who are much older than I am, are being lost in the digital world, and hence the digital divide. So, one of the things that I would prescribe to address this would be social groups, adult social groups. The adult community can come together um, and allow or invite younger folks to come in and assist them in bridging that divide. The, the society cannot function effectively if the adults, the older folks, let me say older folks,
Talking about me, Mr. Leslie.
yes,
Go on.
yeah, it cannot function effectively if there is a divide between the older folks and the younger folks. We need a cohesive approach to life. The old need the young, and the young needs the old, to bridge that gap. And so
Mhm.
forming ourselves in groups where the younger folks would come in and assist the older folks to understand the technology, because the changes are occurring so fast, you become intimidated. Even if you're tech savvy, sometimes you're
I want to stop
intimidated.
you. I want to stop you for a second, Michael, and that's a very good point. Are you intimidated by today's technology?
Not generally, but
Okay.
sometimes it is overwhelming. I
Yes.
don't like to fill forms. And sometimes filling a form, even if it's a paper form, is a pain, much less to fill it online, you
Yes,
know.
yes.
And and because everything has transited to online, the digital space, it becomes more frustrating for me, you know.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
hence a little bit overwhelmed. But generally speaking, I believe that I'm coping, but I have friends, I have peers, people in a little bit older than I am, they're quite intimidated by the technology, and
It's
they,
true.
some of them just
I
don't
agree.
know it.
I agree. And it can be intimidating for the older generation and even for doctor's visit. Now we have telemedicine. And we need to bring awareness for the older generation, to foster and to embrace the technology because it's happening, it's real, it's been happening, and it's going to get more technical in the very near future. And even you talk about smart TVs. I am the recipient of several smart TVs in my home, and can I tell you, I don't know what to do but to turn the power button on.
Absolutely.
Literally. But thank you so much, Michael. Let me ask Stephanie. She is the youngest of our speakers. Let me ask Stephanie, if you should have no Wi-Fi, no internet for 24 hours, what will you do?
I'm gonna be honest, I'd probably sleep for a lot of those 24 hours. Um, that's a hard question. If I'm with family, probably try and play games, interact with people. I think it sounds harder than it actually is if you're with people, but if I'm by myself, I'll definitely just sleep the 24 hours to get it gone.
I am with you on the sleeping. Today, let me ask you the same question. If you don't have internet for 24 hours, what will you do?
Was that question for me?
Yes, Janielle, take that
Okay.
one.
No internet for 24 hours. Oh my gosh. I couldn't imagine what life would be like without internet nowadays. But gosh, I would have to reteach myself maybe to go outside and touch grass maybe. But no internet for 24 hours. I guess I'll just read a book or something, but beyond 24 hours, I don't know if I would be able to survive that.
Thanks for your honesty and transparency, Michael. No internet for 24 hours. Would you sleep or would you lose your mind?
Well, the internet has basically become a utility, just like the power or the water or the gas. You know, for me, I'd probably just go find a bar and have a few drinks. you know,
I need my
but
invite.
yes, but just to simplify the whole thing, it has become so integrated in our lives, that just consider being without electricity for a day, or water in the pipe for a day. That's the internet for us, you
Absolutely,
know,
I agree.
right?
Yeah,
And
it is real, and we're talking about the digital and the technology, but we also have to emphasize on mutual respect in verbal communication between the generations. I find that the younger generation, they're not, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stephanie, in your 20s, Janelle, you're in your 30s, correct me if I'm wrong. I find that the younger generation, they don't embrace that effective communication. Please tell me I'm wrong, someone.
I want to chime in on that a little bit because effective communication is a major part of my job. It's a major part of our lives. We have to communicate effectively with our chat, with our kids, with our partners, with our peers at work. So I wouldn't say that there is a lack of effective communication. I would say that there is a different method of how we communicate. And being able to, like I said before, to get that happy medium where you're communicating effectively, I think it will like do without all of those bridges that we've had across the
Yeah.
generations. Even in our digital world, like even in a text, you can say something disrespectful to someone verbally, but it can still be showcased in an emoji. For example, you can use an emoji that an angry face with the FY whatever whatever number sign, and that can convey the same message. So if our older generation don't understand that, then you may get away with it.
You'll get away with that.
Yeah,
You'll
but if
get away
they
with
do,
cursing someone else that doesn't understand, and you'll get away with that.
yeah. But if they do,
Thank you.
then you're pretty much saying the same thing to them with that emoji as you would have said verbally. So mutual respect across all platform of communication needs to be taken into consideration, or else we're going to lose that respect for each other.
Thank you, Janelle. And there are there are clear steps and we can how we can foster this communication by mutual respect. I grew up in an era where I grew up in a single home. My dad died when I was very young, 8 or 9 years old, and I grew up with that respect of saying yes ma'am, yes sir, no ma'am, no sir. And I know as the world evolves, a lot of people, especially younger people in my opinion, they felt that if you call them ma'am or sir, they felt disrespected because they felt that you're calling them old as dirt. But I grew up in that era where fostering that communication to the older generation, it has to be a yes, sir, yes, ma'am. I was never allowed to call an older person by their first name. So I think this is a great platform to discuss this. We are going to pull some questions from the chat, or if you have a question, you can just raise your hand, and one of my producers will take some questions from the chat. This is Ask Carol Talk Show.
I've got a question for you in the chat here, Carol. This is so amazing. Honestly, Janielle, oh my God, Micheal, this is just so amazing. I've got a pertinent question here, and it's from Carol. And she says, this question is for Stephanie. what is the best way to teach the elderly how to get acquainted with technology? This is a brilliant question. I love
Take it
this.
away, Stephanie.
I would say the first step is for the person that wants to learn, obviously the elderly, to actually want to learn, not just for the sake of learning, because it's hard to teach someone that doesn't want to learn a new skill or something. So first you actually want to learn, but then I would say for someone my age, someone older, it just depends on the individual. It depends how you are best taught. It depends like your speed of things, how you pick things up. Each individual is different. That might be through videos, it could be through physically showing you, it could be through writing it down. It all just depends on the individual, I would personally say.
Very well. Thank you, Stephanie. Do we have
Thank
any
you
more
so
questions in
much.
in the chat?
We've got a comment here which is absolutely brilliant. And I think this was whilst Micheal was talking. Micheal, what you have said is just so profound. And someone here says, Micheal says, my dad doesn't even have a smart TV. I think it frightens him. So Micheal made the suggestion about a group gathering, and the person Micheal has said here in the chat, group gathering to help is a great idea. And I tend to agree with that. That's just amazing.
And I would agree with Michelle. When you have that group ready, I am the first one will attend that group because I fall in that generation that's still learning how to turn the TV on. I want to get past the power button. I want to get past how you scroll a remote to the different channels. Good question.
Amazing. And we've got another question here from Abby. A very interesting question. Abby says, do you think the potential lack of effective, quote unquote, effective communication is breeding more narcissists?
Ooh, wow. I love that. Does one
Yes,
of our
great
speakers
question.
want to take that one?
It's a very interesting question or comment. I believe that the, the, the explosion in technology has really put us in an I mode. The I this, the I that, the I that, so everything has become individualized. So from that perspective, there is little or less gathering, little or less um, coming together, individuals communicating in a community, in a particular manner. So the one-on-one mentorship without judgment uh, would assist, the tutorial classes, the community gathering, designing user-friendly applications on the smart devices with the seniors in mind. These are things that will assist, to sort of just level the playing field somewhat, to make things a little bit more tolerable, because the people who are most at risk are the older folks, truly. Younger folks adapt very quickly. They're trendy, they're intuitive. Their use of social media is almost on a daily basis. They use school-related softwares on a daily basis. They're technologically driven, and so they integrate easier into the everyday life.
Thank you,
Older folks.
Micheal. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions in the chat, or if someone wants to raise their hand for a question for one of our speakers? It's digitally divide. We're talking about bridging the generational gap. And that's a broad area. There has to be some interesting questions
Good, thanks,
from our
guys.
chat.
I have a question. Hello?
We have an
Um,
audio. Go ahead with your question from the participants.
from Shania. Hi, I wanted to ask if if you think that within the spike of more technology, do you think it makes people less or more toxic? Does social media make a connection, or does it separate people and divide them?
Interesting. Stephanie, you want to take that one? Did you hear that question?
Yes, I've heard that one. I would say that social media can do both in terms of dividing and wait, sorry, can you repeat your question one more time? Just to make sure I heard the
Okay.
right.
Okay. I was saying that within like the spike of technology and its creation, do you think it creates a toxic or non-toxic environment? Like based on its addition to the world.
I would say personally, I haven't had a toxic encounter from social media, but I think that it can be quite toxic in terms of how you're able to access people. You've got 24 access to communicating with certain people, especially with having social media, things like Snapchat and Instagram, you can constantly be posting things. So from a personal experience of going to an all-girls school, sometimes people will post quite toxic things which could mentally hurt other people. But from a personal aspect, wouldn't have said that I've personally had a really toxic experience with social media.
Good. Very good.
I want
Janine,
to
you want
chime
to
in on
expound
that.
on that?
Yes, I want to chime in on that a little bit. So we're talking on the topic of digital divide, and we do understand that there's a divide between each generation, the oldest and the youngest in our workforce in general, because we're not just talking about work, we're talking in our personal lives. But
Correct.
I want to highlight that technology on a whole is to make our lives easier. So while it's difficult for some to grasp technology today, and it's fast changing, ever changing, every day there's a different software, there's a different app, there's something new and exciting. I just want to say that not everyone needs to get involved in everything or into the nitty gritty of everything. Just understanding the basic. That's all. Just understanding the basic of technology will help us to navigate some of those gaps that we're having. Also, like I said before, it's to make our lives easier. So, how about not shying away from technology and making the gap wider, but allowing everyone to infuse in it and come together? I know Michael touched on the topic earlier about technologies like well, the internet in general is a part of our lives. It's like water or power right now. And I, for one, can't do without my internet. I use it for everything. I ask Alexa everything right now. I don't need to type in anything on Google. I ask Google these days. I don't need to walk with a map. I can just ask Google where to go. So it's a part of our everyday lives. Um, Having each generation know the benefit of each particular technology, digital technology, will help them to want to learn a little more about it and not shy away from it. And I think with that, it would create less toxicity, if that's a word, or even less divide among us.
Good point. Good point. Michael, you want to piggyback on that before we go deeper into the Ask Carol talk show?
Yeah, so I agree with Janelle's
I'm
point.
sorry, Michael. Can you please mute your audio, please? Kareen's iPhone. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Michael.
Yes, I agree with Janelle's point earlier. Um, so the technology, in terms of social media, has exposed us to so many other uh, opinions and ideas and personal nuances in terms of the comments that follows post. Indeed, I was speaking with a friend this morning, and she said, "Well, when I look on a video, one of the first thing I do is to head directly to the comment section. Now, the comment section can be very brutal, and so that in itself comes with its own nuances. It can affect you either in a good way or a bad way. It depends on your personality type. So there is, to some extent, a degree of bad in the way we use the technology. You know, So I want to submit, though, that if you are of a particular personality type and you're easily offended by certain comments, don't venture. Do not venture.
Mm.
In terms of the comment section on social media, just do not venture because you might just get offended.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. This is the Ask Carol Talk Show. We are discussing digital divide, bridging the generational gap, and our speakers have been so amazing. We're having so much fun with this. I just want to ask one of my producers, are there any more questions in the chat?
Not at the moment.
Awesome. Do we have any questions from our participants? If you want to raise your hand, this is the Ask Carol Talk Show.
Or any suggestions or comments? Someone says, I love this topic.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you want to support the Ask Carol Talk Show, in the chat, there's my information to PayPal, Cash App, or Zelle if you like what you're hearing. If you want to see more of the Ask Carol Talk Show, you can support me, and my link is in the chat. So on next week, we have a brilliant speaker, Dr. Janielle Hall. She is a senior clinical psychologist, and she is going to unlock some of the challenges that we're facing in the mental health world. So you don't want to miss next week Ask Carol Talk Show. Next week, May 3rd, it will be Dr. Janielle Hall. She's going to unlock the barriers of the mental health world in a society where we're anxious. Been anxious right now, so I'm anxious for next week, and so we will looking forward for next week. Dr. Janielle Hall will be our speaker. So we have time on the Ask Carol Talk Show. We're still into digitally divide. Is there any comments? For any more comments from our speakers?
So Carol, you know, earlier I spoke about how young people are trendy and intuitive in the use of the technology. Closing the gap is to ensure that everyone benefits from the digital world. You know, we see where older folks are not necessarily into the buzz or the hype to some extent. They just want basic functionalities in the way they use the technology. You spoke about how you're intimidated by that you just use your television on and off power button.
I
You
do.
know, so simplifying the technology in designing user-friendly applications on devices, with seniors in mind, will definitely go to work towards, closing this gap. So some years ago, my daughter gave me a gift. So she gave me an Alexa gift. Now, obviously, started setting up Alexa. So now Alexa turns on my light, Alexa turns on the TV, Alexa does everything for me.
Scary, isn't
Just at
it?
the sound of my voice, right? This is one way of simplifying the use of the technology. Once you've set it up, and it is voice activated, you speak to it and it enables an action. This is something for the designers, to design user-friendly applications and devices, with senior personnel in mind. This definitely will go a far way in integrating the young and the old, helping to bridge a gap to close that divide.
Very well, very well. And Michael, I know you're an entrepreneur. And Janine, you have worked with different age groups over your years of being in the military and also working with the government in a Fortune 500 company. And Stephanie, I want to toss this one over to you. You're also an entrepreneur. What advice would you give for people in their early 20s, just out of high school, just got out of college? Um, what what drives you to be an entrepreneur, and how are you fostering technology and promoting your business?
Um, I, I would say my first bit of advice to someone that is starting off their business is to find your target market and to market towards them, because every age group, your market would be very different and how you would captivate them would be different. So for me, my market is quite broad. So I know that I need to do a lot of different kind of marketing that is through social media, word of mouth, having a good demeanor when people speak to me, because that takes you very far. So if you encounter me in my business, I'm like very bubbly, I have a good service, you're more likely to go on to your next person. But I would say if you can, to make sure that you do have a good social media presence, because right now, for my age group especially, 20s and 30s, I would say social media can take you very far. Literally, one good post from somebody can get you hundreds or thousands of clients or clientele coming in. So it's literally just about how you present yourself to other people physically and through your social media.
Interesting, very interesting point and comment, Stephanie. And so, from what I'm hearing, is if you don't have some form of social media in your life, you're almost stagnant. That's what I'm hearing.
Um, I wouldn't say, yes, I would actually. I would say, especially now in 2025, if you don't have some form of social media, you probably will be, because your only way of marketing is through word of mouth. And you won't be captivating people of my age group, especially for I do. So I sell food. People want to see what you're selling. People want to be able to see reviews and things. They don't just always trust that your product or whatever you're selling is good. So actually having something where you're able to showcase what you're able to do, or showcase that you're doing something this Saturday, is going to bring in numbers and bring in people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Very well, very well. Stephanie, being in your early 20s, I'm about 10 generations older than you. Not quite, but you're really enlightening me. You're opening up my awareness. You're bringing awareness, even me, to the social media, because I used to shy away from social media. I felt that it was just intrusive. But now the more I'm listening to you, Stephanie, is the more it's bringing awareness to me that but look at us now. We're on Zoom. We have 48 of our 48 beautiful people here on Zoom, and it's bringing so much awareness to me. So it is encouraging me to be more connected with the digitally world. That's what I'm hearing. Janine, will you agree with that?
From a business perspective, yes. It would apply to Michael and Stephanie from a business perspective. I don't necessarily see the need for anyone else in their personal lives that are in the older generation to have social media. If they want to, that's okay. But just having a digital device will allow them to still connect digitally. If you have an iPhone, you can connect through FaceTime to families and friends. So you don't necessarily need social media. You just need to keep it, like Michael said before, keep it simple. If they want to dive into the further parts of social media and other digital device, that's okay. But keeping it simple, if you're in the business field, absolutely, social media is the easiest way to get your business promoted, and it's typically free unless you're paying for ads. So go ahead and use it.
Very well said. Before we wrap up the Ask Carol talk show, Michael, final word.
Everyone has a smartphone. Everyone has one, so everyone that I know actually has one. It so they're exposed to technology one way or another, even if it is just a basic function of making and receiving a call. or, a FaceTime or Facebook, social media, in whatever form. It matters that we bridge the gap.
Yes. Yes.
The technology affects all of our lives in the form of
Yes.
our healthcare, our communication, our finances, and even our emotional connections through video calls with our families. And so it is it is a very important topic that we're discussing today, and helping hopefully we will help someone to now go out in the community, uh, interact with those that are more quote unquote in need of this kind of assistance to use the technology to greater effect. It is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And so,
Yes.
you know, we just need to get on board, through education, through tutorials, community classes, one-on-one mentorship, etc. And
Mhm.
and it's important also, to do it without judgment, especially if the person is intimidated by the use of the technology, because
Mhm.
being judgmental will then further divide and push people away.
Thank you, Michael. Stephanie, you have any final words on our digitally divide, bridging generational gap?
We've actually got
Um,
a quick question. Can I just quickly, Steph, can I just jump in very, very
Go ahead,
quickly?
my producer.
We've got a question here from Michael Lecky. Do you think that both basic technology and advanced one can coexist in the same space?
Mm,
Very interesting.
interesting. Who wants to take that one?
I do believe so. I do believe so because in some circles right now, we might be thinking that the medium we're using is a basic medium, but it operates on an advanced technology, right? And so we it the synergy for coexistence is already there. The basic platform is already there. Earlier, we spoke about the Internet of Things, and how, the technology has evolved from, different systems, whether it is from the in, input output BIOS systems and microprocessors and the different connectivities. So, yes, Mr. Lecky, it can function cohesively.
Thank you. Good point. Good point. I am having so much fun with this. This is the Ask Carol Talk Show. Stephanie, you have any final words before we wrap up on the Ask Carol Talk Show?
I would just say for digital divide, just be patient. To someone older, just be patient, take your time, and just learn what you need to learn. Don't try and learn something, as Janielle said, that is not necessary. Stick to what you need to, because that's when it gets confusing, really.
Excellent. Excellent point. Janielle, any final word from the Ask Carol Talk Show?
Sure. So this was a great topic right off the bat, and a topic that affects us all in our everyday lives. I just want to say, at the end of the day, we are all operating in this world together. We're all living on this planet together, and we all have a place and a function here. So, um,
Yes.
being able to come together and for that find that happy medium that works for every single solitary person where we can all communicate effectively is the key in having this conversation not happen or even the digital gap spread wider across the generation.
Very well said. Very well said. What an amazing show. I love it. I love it. It's the Ask Carol Talk Show. Thank you so much to all my speakers, all my family, my friends, my visitors that joined in on the Ask Carol Talk Show. It's the premiere, it's season one. I believe we started off with a bang. We do have the Ask Carol coffee mug or tea mug. If you are interested, and it really tastes good, but it's water. But if you're interested in one of the Axe Carol coffee mug, please send me a private message. Thank you so much to all my speakers for joining in on Digitally Divide, Bridging Generational Gap. I do believe we have learned a lot. So I want to thank you all my speakers for joining in. Thank you everyone for joining in. Please don't miss next week's episode. To miss next week's episode would be a big mistake for you. We will have Dr. Janielle Hall, and she's a clinical psychologist, and she's going to unlock some serious stuff that will help us, that will help me. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining the Ask Carol Talk Show. My financial link is in the chat. If you want to sponsor the Ask Carol Talk Show, please get to my final link that's in the chat. Before we say goodbye to everyone, is there anything else from our audience? Okay, and with that said, again, thank you so much for joining us on the Ask Carol Talk Show, where real conversations, real impact. And don't forget, when you come on the Ask Carol Talk Show, it is a safe place. You are safe on the Ask Carol Talk Show. Thank you again for joining us. It's the Ask Carol Talk Show, and we're going to take it away with my rap. 1, 2, 3. Ask Carol anything, don't hold back. Real conversations on the right track. Real impact, no fluff, just fact. Ask Carol. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye bye for now.